What is Ars Magica? Ars Magica is a tabletop role-playing game originally published in 1987, now on its 5th edition. A tabletop role-playing game is where you sit around a big slab of wood, stone, glass, or metal with your friends and tell a story with dice, unless you do it online with a virtual tabletop, in which case it's completely different and exactly the same. Okay, Ars Magica is a game about simulated magic where everybody, mostly, plays as mages. Magi? Maguses. I don't know, half this game's in Latin. It's basically the opposite of modern TTRPG design, which emphasizes streamlined, easy-breezy gaming with minimal rules referencing, and instead it's a hyper-detailed, all-encompassing medieval wizard simulator where the possibilities are endless and the players are expected to delve into the books almost as much as the dungeon master. Game master? Keeper. Narrator? Game mother. No. Story guide. That's actually what it's called in this one. We'll just call it Chump that paid for all the books. I digress. Ars Magica even challenges the preconceived notion that the same person always runs things, and suggests having a player step up to run sessions so the SG can go adventuring. But wait, you ask, if this is supposed to be a wizard spreadsheet simulator, then how is the person running it supposed to just pull a character out of thin air to play them once in a while? The answer is troop-style play. That's an official term coined by the game which refers to having a pool of characters so that each time you go adventuring you can grab one up and take them along. But if characters have a lot of different powers and they're very complicated to make and play, how can this work without everyone going insane? I'm so glad you asked. There are 3 types of player characters in Ars Magica. Magi, which are central to the game and have lots of cool powers. Companions, which are non-wizarding plot characters. And grogs, which I can best describe as expendable extras. This means there are types of characters you can build in just 5 or 10 minutes and jump right in with, whenever you'd like your wizard to be in his lab inventing a new spell or reading a book for sweet delicious experience points instead of exploring the dungeon of the demented Demogorgon with the rest of the party. Popular role-playing games like D&or D tend to hand-wave the finer points of magic, while Ars Magica grapples with them head-on. Let's explain this wizardly game in terms of a wizard you know, Merlin. Imagine if we asked questions like, who was Merlin? Did he have peers? Did they get together and exchange notes? How did they figure out how magic works? How much can this unshorn shapeshifter do exactly? What are the costs? How much control does he have? Is magic infinite? Where does it come from? Are there wizards from other parts of the world? Does their magic work the same way as his? How many dairy cows could he conjure out of thin air before he gets tired? If you play just a few sessions of Ars Magica, you will know the answers to these questions, at least with respect to your own character. So what makes magi different from one another, and how does this magic system work? First, the game partitions all the physical substrates that can be manipulated by magic into the following Latinly named categories called forms: animal, aquam, aurum, corpus, herbum, ignum, imaginem, mentem, terram, and vim. So what can you do with these things? The effects of magic fall into 5 categories called techniques: creo, create; intelligo, perceive; muto, transform; perdo, destroy; rego, control. For the most part, every spell is a combination of a technique and a form. So if you want a spell that extinguishes fire, it'll be a perdo ignum spell. If you want to heal someone, that's a creo corpus, because it creates or repairs human flesh. For good old-fashioned mind control, whip up a rego mentem and you'll have your victim dancing like a puppet for your amusement lickety-split. Let's go back to the Merlin example and make it complicated. Suppose our scruffy soothsayer wants to conjure a dairy cow and make it 20 feet tall and purple, and he's standing in the middle of Stonehenge under a full moon, and he gestures wildly while casting. We'd start with a creo animal at level 15 and add a muto requisite and increase the level to 25 since it's giant and purple, and that's the number we need to roll. So we throw a die, we add our skill with creo animal or muto if it's lower, then add modifiers for the location and gestures, and voila! We summoned a wine-colored bovine larger than the baseline and a divine shrine on a ley line under moonshine with a dramatic hand sign, and it turned out just fine because we're badass, and we rolled a 37. While this probably sounds like a lot, and it is, it's mostly just tallying. We're adding up all of the effects that we want, looking them up in the book, and then adding a bunch of numerical modifiers to figure out what number we need. The system is powerful enough that you can dream up nearly any sort of magical effect and have it defined in the game rules in 5 minutes or less. Then you can give it a name, beckon the lavender milk maker, and share it with your friends so they can join in your odd religious activities. Let's talk about the setting. Ars Magica takes place in mythic Europe in the 1200s AD, an alternate history late medieval Earth where magic is real. You work for a continent-spanning collection of curious conjurers called the Order of Hermes, made up of 12 houses, each with their own distinct history and philosophy. Character creation entails choosing one of these houses without the aid of a sorting hat, but it's okay because the book provides nice little condensed blurbs about each house, alongside tomes worth of expansion lore that I won't get into right now. For a game that puts so much emphasis emphasis on novel mechanics and systems. It's a nice surprise that Ars Magica also has one of the most detailed and interesting settings in any role-playing game, and it manages to do so without establishing so much present-time canon that you feel like you can't do anything without breaking the rules of the setting or making a mess of its history. There's still a lot more to say about Ars Magica, but it would require me to talk faster and continue for several hours, so let me part on a few details about the game and my recommendations for it. While Ars Magica isn't for the faint of heart, it is 100% for the bold of brain. This is the kind of game you can sink your teeth into for years and have no shortage of inspiration to draw on. Not to mention the core systems are designed for you to run wild with your own stories and produce unexpected outcomes. There are many dozens of books for the present edition, and while the core rules haven't been reworked for quite a while now, that's okay, because the game works well and has an absurd amount of content for it. The art and production value in the books, let's say it's of mixed quality, but the text is written with an impressive amount of love and attention to detail, in sort of the same way King Arthur Pendragon is, if you've watched my video on that one. I haven't scratched the surface of things like covenants, which are magical guilds that are player-made, expansion books on different magical traditions, rules for crafting items, and, well, you're gonna have to go see for yourself. Until next time, game big, wander far. I got my catchphrase.